Hello, everyone, and welcome. You are here at the Crystal Skull panel, and we have an amazing group of people here today that you're going to be meeting with amazing information. I know them all personally. My name is Joshua Shapiro. I'm one of the moderators, and Lyncara is the other moderator. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about crystal skulls. We have three organizations who are sponsoring this. The Crystal Skull Explorers Community is the first one, and we have actually four counselors from that group that are here as moderators and panelists. The Center for the Advancement of Humanity is also a co-sponsor for this event. And also we have Shahiroz Walji for the Metaphysical Hub, who is doing all of our productions. And then we have these amazing people here that you see that we're going to be covering all aspects of the crystal skulls. So basically the way that this will be going is I'll have each of our panelists introduce themselves here shortly, but I would like to just tell you their name initially, then we'll ask them 5 questions, and then we will go to the people here that are our participants. If they have any questions, they can ask those. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge Lyncara Stewart from Scotland, who will be co-moderating with me. How are you doing today, Lyncara?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Joshua. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone today and connect here. I'm really, really excited.
All right. So then we have for our panelists, we have Shirley. How do you say your other part? Sienna?
That's it. ShirleySienna. It's just one
Shirley
word.
Sienna. Right, from Australia. So how are you doing today, Shirley? You ready to go?
I am. I'm awake. It's 2 a.m. on Monday. So that's
All
great.
right. Well, I thank you so much for being willing to make this ultimate sacrifice. So you're very welcome. And
All right.
next up, we have Marguerite, and I'm not sure, is it Piazzati? Piazzati is your last name?
It's Pizzati.
Okay. So how are you doing today, Marguerite?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for your invitation to join this panel. I live in Fort Myers, Florida.
All right. And then we have her partner in crime. Well, not really. AJ Ferrara. And
Right.
the two of them work together. And go ahead and introduce yourself briefly,
Hi,
AJ.
J Ferrara. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm a screenwriter and author, and Marguerite is who I owe the everything in terms of how I came in contact with crystal skulls, and we wrote a book together, which we'll talk about as we go.
All right. Next up, we have my brother Dan, and I keep forgetting where you are. You're in Michigan or Wisconsin? Michigan, right? How are you doing
Yeah,
today, Dan?
I am ecstatic. I'm so excited to be here and honored to participate and share about the crystal skulls. Yes, I'm in Menominee, Michigan, and I'm from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. And I am a first contact Earth ambassador and a crystal skull guardian and energy worker.
All right. See, we have very interesting people here with us. It's going to be exciting. Next up, we have Tal Hershko, right?
Yes.
And she's in Israel, and she says that, well, I don't know how to express it. Let's just say there's situations going on around her where she may have to temporarily go away because she's in Israel. But we're all praying for her that that's not going to happen today. So, Tal, how's everything going for you besides this crazy stuff around you?
I'm good. I'm really honored and happy to be here.
Okay, well, we're excited to have you. And we have as our last panelist, we have Aimee Mosco, who I call my sister. We did a class together. So how is it going today for you, Aimee?
Well, everything's really good. It's very sunny and hot here. I'm in the Southern California desert. So it's pretty much summer all year round here, kind of like Florida. Yeah, so I'm an intuitive channel. In fact, I channel communications from the crystal skulls, probably like many of you. And I've developed a system called Sacred and then Divine Purpose Alignment Techniques. And I'm co-founder of a company called Intentional Healing Systems.
Okay. Well, we're very happy to have you. She's a very talented person, and it was a pleasure doing the class with her. So we're going to do some more. So everybody should stay tuned. And finally, We have Shahiroz Walji from the Metaphysical Hub. She's consistently helped me with many videos and many interviews that I've done. So I just want her basically to introduce herself. And then we'll come back to everyone to talk about what is your connection with the crystal skulls. So go ahead and just say hello, Shahiroz, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shahiroz. I've known Joshua for many, many years. I used to run a metaphysical store in BC, Canada. Joshua came there and with Katrina, his beloved wife, and did a presentation and educated us on crystal skulls and his travels with crystal skulls. I had the opportunity to host him at our home and had some amazing crystal skull experiences. When Joshua stayed over, he actually offered to let me sleep with one of the crystals. The crystal's name was Krishna, I believe it was, and
Yes.
it was a small crystal, but oh my God, was it ever powerful. Somebody actually recorded my experience in a book they wrote. I have a crystal skull. It's orange calcite, and I call him Julius, or he said his name was Julius to be more accurate.
Okay.
And Metaphysical Hub used to be Astral Connections, became Astral Encounters, and then the store name was Astral Connections, where Joshua had come. And then we're Metaphysical Hub, and I interview people, the metaphysical people of our world, and had the opportunity to interview Joshua and Katrina way back then. So if you go to the website, you can watch an interview with Joshua and Katrina and get to meet them back in those days, and as they share many, many insights. And since I've interviewed Joshua a couple of times, I believe, and those interviews are there as well. But that's enough about me. Let's get on with the panel now.
All right. Katrina is in spirit. She appears to me right here. She may, when it's my turn to make comments, make some comments. So if I hear it from her, I will acknowledge her. So, all right. So what I'd like to do now, before we go to the questions, is now we already had Aimee already went into this. I'd like to have the other people here briefly talk about what is their connection with the crystal skulls. We'll finish up with me, and then we'll start with our first questions to the panel. So Lyncara is our co-moderator. Could you share briefly a little bit about your connection with the crystal skulls?
So for me, my connection started very early. I think I was about 7 years old, and I was very drawn to a skull, a picture of the skull that I had in a book. I was very drawn to crystals. I've worked with them ever since and spent my life studying them. And there's something different and phenomenal about the skulls that is almost unexplainable, I think. But it's a natural love. I just feel so bonded with them.
And now we'll go to ShirleySienna, right?
Yes.
So can you just talk briefly about your connection with the crystal skulls?
Yeah, well, same. The crystals, I've always been interested in crystals and the metaphysical world. So that's, been my deal my whole life. And the skulls came to me early in the 2000s. I just found one in a little store that had been sitting there the whole time the lady had had the store. She bought it off a woman and it was sitting there then. So I guess the skull waited 10 years for me to come and find him. It's just a little one. And then all of a sudden they were everywhere. But, in my home, I don't even know how some of them arrived. It's like they must put you into some sort of trance. So you buy skulls and you go, how did you get here? And yet you have so many and they just become such a part of your life. So really the skulls found me, as I believe they find everyone. And they multiply and they change everything. And at the same time, I first found that little skull, I was reading the Crystal Skull book. A whole lot of different things happened, but it just evolved. And next, how I met you, Josh, through the big site we had that Alaya put together for those years, and it all really took off and got me around the planet to meet so many different people with these amazing beings who were just They're family.
Right.
Mm.
Actually, as you guys are talking about your connection, you're actually answering the first question, how you first became interested in the crystal skull. So just keep going with that, and then we'll come back to the second part of that question to start the panel officially. Thank you, Shirley. Marguerite, so how are you working with skulls very briefly in your connection?
My connection started when I was at at the Center for Human Development, and I didn't know much about skulls and more about crystals than really the skulls until I walked into our healing room at the center, and there were all these skulls because the owner and my boss, Barbara, had an experience with Max. And from that day forward, she started to accumulate skulls. So I've started to connect with them in that way, and they were in the healing room. So I know that they were helping me and helping the client on the table. But the year before she passed, which was in 2016, she gave me the skulls. So I am now guardian of all of those skulls, and they're known as the Light Collective. And they were talking to me, but not as much as they have been when I brought them home. The center is closed after she passed, as the family wanted that. So I talked to them. They are like family. And then I started channeling them, writing, do more, spirit writing. They definitely work with my clients on the table or in a meditation. And it's been an amazing journey. It's been almost 20 years and with them, but they have become part of me, or I've become part of them. Our energies have integrated on a number of levels, and they've helped me through some of my health issues of late. And I just tell people, just be open to the energies, and they will find you.
Yeah,
they will find you as you start accumulating them. You start buying them. You can't pass them without them saying something to you. So that's how I started and how I've continued doing my work. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. They have truly sent their love out there, their love to me, as I've given my energy and my love to them. And the further I can put that out there, all the better. All the better.
Okay, Marguerite, thank you.
Thank you.
Lyncara, I'm turning it over to you for the next three to ask this question and talk with them as co-moderator.
Let's go to AJ.
Sure. I want to preface by saying I first met Marguerite back in 1998. We were both starting on our journey, and we were in a meditation and physical psychic development class. That was taught by such a talented, intuitive medium and still a great friend of ours, Beth Lynch. And we became Reiki masters in 2001. So it's been a real long journey. I did not know anything about the skulls until I saw them in the center where Marguerite was working. And to be honest, I considered them artwork. I didn't know anything further about it until she had them in her house, and she was doing healing crystal skull meditations in her house, and she invited me to one. There was a big group of people, like 15 people. And I had decided to go because I was having a problem with my shoulder. It hurt a lot. And I walked out of that crystal skull meditation with no pain. So my eyes were open. And shortly after that, I started hearing messages from a couple of her skulls saying to me that they want Marguerite to write a book, and they were asking me to participate. So it's all gone from there, and it's opened up my mind to like multi-dimensional possibilities that I didn't know existed. So it's an amazing journey that continues.
All right. I'm going to go to Dan. I can feel Dan's excitement. So let's hear the first part from Dan.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. I have always just wanted to know the how and the why of the unexplained, things like the megalithic builders, Sasquatch, UFOs, and aliens. So just how the pattern of things, how they worked and stuff like that. And I spent much of my free time when I was younger researching, I'm trying to understand the earth and humanity and how things work. So I had a number of experiences that taught me that there were much more going on than most people are aware. In 1999, I had an onboard UFO on craft encounter where I was explained to me that by extraterrestrial beings that they were my real family. And ever since then, I've always considered myself to be an extraterrestrial hybrid human. And so I also had a near-death experience that showed me that there was more to reality in 2006. And after I left my body, I met Source and was offered a chance to come back to Earth. And so I did choose to come back here. I remember when I made the choice, I told them that I had more to do here and I wanted to come back. And so ever since then, I've been on like a very dedicated mission, knowing that I had an important journey ahead. And the crystal skulls came up for me in that journey as my passion with Atlantis and the entering into the age of Aquarius.
Okay.
All right, fascinating. You can start to see throughout the panels where everyone has certain connections that of the same things and tapping into higher consciousness, and it's really, really fascinating. Last but not least, the lovely Tal.
Thank you. Well, since I was a child, I was really interested with crystals, like many of you said, and I was always learning about them, checking them out, reading all I could. And 7 years ago, I just looked at videos, and I stumbled upon this video about crystal skulls, and there was this lady who showed a Mongolian crystal skull, and I really felt like a remembrance, like I was seeing an old friend. And so I started studying and researching and reading and meeting people. And again, in a synchronistic chain of events, I got to be a caretaker of a old Mongolian crystal skull. And since then, I feel that my life really changed. My spiritual path has grown. I've met soul family, synchronicities came into my life. I mean, they have a really important role in the advancement of our spiritual journey. And it's really an adventure.
Aimee, do you have anything else that you want to add to what you said before we go to the next question and I finish up with my brief presentation?
Well, thank you for asking, Joshua. I do have something I want to say, and it's, I don't want to get off topic, but I have to say, being a sensitive person and intuitive, I feel like there's something bigger happening here. We're having a panel here and we're discussing our connections to crystal skulls, but I feel like there's something bigger happening. I feel like there's a coming together and a building of a structure. So if you feel inclined, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're connecting today. I think there's something much bigger occurring, and I see it like a structure being built.
Okay, good. I agree. I think that's what's happening now too. Okay, to finish up on this first part, again, my name's Joshua Shapiro. I'm in the Orlando area. The easiest way to describe myself is a crystal skull explorer, author, and public speaker, and an initiator of bringing people together like what's happening now. I feel very inspired to do this as often as possible. There are a number of other projects that I'm doing, not necessarily connected with crystal skulls, that are working to bring soul family together. My first time with the crystal skulls was with an amethyst skull called Me, which I met in San Jose, California in April of 1983. So that means I have been involved with the crystal skulls for over 40 years. And the message that Aimee gave to me, which is what I feel is motivating me and guiding me in every step of the way, was she said to me through her picture. I didn't see her until a couple of weeks later in person. She said, "We, meaning the Crystal Skull collectives, are returning now to help humanity to create world peace. So you, Joshua, what are you going to do about it?" So here I am 40 years later, and I'm still doing something about that. So it is very great honor and privilege to have you all here, to have part of the Crystal Skull family that's coming together, which is what I believe Aimee is talking about. That spirit is moving us towards working together for some projects for our planet. So hopefully through this panel, we'll all get to know each other better, and perhaps some other ideas for future projects may come from this. But for our visitors and those who will watch the video, I hope that you will gain a lot of great new insights and perspectives into what the crystal skulls are about as we hear the moderators and panels share with you what's going on. All right, so we pretty much already covered the first question I was planning to ask all of you, so great job. So we're going to move on to the second question, and Lyncara and I will just come to each of you. We'll just rotate. So the next question is basically about how are you yourselves working with the crystal skulls that you have? How does it help you in your life? Is it helping you with your gifts? And also, how is it affecting other people that you're working with, let's say, through your spiritual services? So I'm going to come to Shirley first to ask you that question.
Well, I think that the skulls have enhanced greatly what I've always done. I am a medium. I work with spirit, and I teach and I facilitate healing, so sort of across the board, and the skulls have enhanced it and taken me in new directions and taught me so much. I refer to the skulls in my care as the earth spirit wisdom keepers. And, I channel and I share the information and I hold gatherings where people attend. And we've had, as you all know, such amazing, amazing things happen that I think if people come in there, which we should all be skeptical about things, we don't want to be gullible. We want to have discernment and have evidence of how everything sort of metaphysical and spiritual and beyond this realm, so to speak, works. And the skulls give them that. The skulls have an uncanny way of turning people around from being negative toward them or being, doubtful. They turn them around on their own, and I just consider myself their legs to get them where they need to be. And in return, their gift has been for me to experience so many amazing things around this planet and to meet so many amazing people. I feel like all my work I do, I'm consciously working with them and I'm unconsciously working with them. They are behind everything, I feel, because they just shifted that course and opened so much more up that I don't feel they'll never not be in my life. My grandchildren all have their skulls, and they're all very hands-on and touchable. I don't keep them. People will say, "Oh, can I touch it?" Or they say to their kids that, "Don't touch." I say, "No, they're there. They want to be touched. They want to interact." And to make it such a normal part of our life, I think, get away from the fear factor that people often have, as you'll probably experience. People come in and they're a little afraid. "Oh, you've got skulls." And I'll say, "We've all got one. It's right here." So they are here, I do believe, also to bring peace, to bring communication, and remind us of who we actually are and the great power that's within us. And like Dan said, they have managed, manipulated, maneuvered so many connections to experiences like contact and everything, you know. It's a bit, I'm in the early hours of the morning, so my brain's not working too well.
Oh, you're doing pretty good.
But they have gifted me with so many things and enhanced what I already had. And who was it? Was it Tal? The Mongolians. I've got two up on the shelf back there. You know, when the Mongolians came to me in about 2010, hello, from Frank, who's, you know, departed now.
Yeah.
That was a whole different ball game. I think the different skulls work with us and affect us differently. And the Mongolians brought a whole nother layer of everything again. So I have been their instrument. I consider myself their instrument. I work with them rather than they work with me. Yeah, they guide, they enhance, they gift, they bring so much joy. And I said earlier, they're the family. You know, I hear them telling me off if they sit there too long and they don't do anything. They're like, come on. Yeah.
All right, Lyncara, who do you want to go to next?
Let's go to Tal.
Okay.
So as Shirley said, I also feel that each skull that I'm working with has a different role in my life. They like activate different parts of myself. And I feel that all the skulls are ultimately activating and connecting us to our multidimensionality, to our multidimensional self. So it's like bringing all the parts of us to awareness. And I have one practice that I really like to do with them is I have a council of skulls that when I have a dilemma or a fork in the road, a question that I am not sure about what to do, I just sit with the skulls and I ask the question and I just sit and write intuitively and get clarity and answers and inspiration. And I really feel that they are guides. And now in these difficult times that we are in here in Israel, I really feel that they are supporting me and giving me advice and giving me also how you say, protection. I feel protected when I'm with them. Another way of communicating with them, which I really love, is taking an oracle card deck and just asking to get a message from a specific skull. Today I want to connect with a certain skull, so I sit and I just open a card and I get inspiration or a message, and I really love doing that also. In my healing session, I always use my skulls. Liang, my Mongolian skull, is with me in the room. I feel that he is holding space, that he is enhancing the healing energy. They are always with me, and also I found ways to touch the skull in certain ways that activate the healing capacity of this being, that's the guide, the being that's inside the skull. So that's ultimately how I use them. Also in grids, when I want to open certain grids, ley lines, or to send healing to the earth. So I take them to special places, to spiritual places, sacred places, and I put them in a formation, a sacred geometry formation, and just send the energy and through the ley lines, through the water lines to wherever it needs to go.
Beautiful. Okay. Brother Dan, you're up next.
Wonderful. I love working with crystal skulls and using them in my work. I like to help people learn about crystal skulls and contact work, such as CE5. I train people privately in all the disciplines that I'm going to discuss today. There are many things that I like to do with the crystal skulls. For instance, meditation is probably one of the most common things, just holding or being near them, using them as a focal point to attune my mind and to either higher frequencies or dimensions. The skulls can act as a bridge, amplifying mental and psychic energy, allowing contacts with higher and lower forms of consciousness. I like to use chants and mantras also, which are composed of specific sounds or tones that I intuitively feel resonate with the skull's vibrational frequency and which enhance my meditative state. They tune both of our consciousness to the right frequency for communication and for unlocking information from them. They help me to induce a trance-like state and in which new insights are made available. There are many well-known chants like the Om chants, and I sometimes use that and others, but I also like to create my own based on numerology, gematria, and Hebrew words. I tone or sing the different notes in order to unlock new information from within the skull and access it. I also like using sigils. Sigil is a created representation of a specific intent or desire, like a shape. It's in ceremonial magic, we use them and charge them with energy through meditation, visualization, and ritual, and then activate them to manifest our desired outcomes. Sigils can be made for contact with extraterrestrials, angels, archangels, or other spiritual beings. They're often used for personal intentions and symbolizing things like personal goals and protection or healing. When using sigils, I use my crystal skulls to assist me in charging them up and amplifying them and clarifying my thoughts and intentions. The crystal skulls are our partners and allies from the crystal world, Mother Gaia, and the greater crystal skull grid network. One of my favorite things to do with them is rituals for invocation, personal growth, and spiritual evolution. I like to perform rituals at sacred locations, sometimes alone, but also in groups of other crystal skull guardians and contact ambassadors. We gather at key astrological sites, such on dates like full moons, new moons, solstices, and equinoxes, to guide, clear, and balance ourselves and Mother Earth, and to reawaken the heart, history, wisdom, and prosperity of the golden age of Aslan. I create many of my own magical rituals and perform many different common Western ceremonial magic rituals. Earlier this month, I was fortunate to lead an honor to lead a magical crystal skull activation ritual that I wrote and performed with a group of 40 crystal skull enthusiasts and their crystal skulls. We connected our crystal skulls and aligned with the legendary 13 crystal skulls of Aslan and blessed them. Several people had personal and spiritual experiences during the ritual, and as soon as it was over, a golden eagle circled above us for a couple of minutes just outside the ceremony space.
All right, can I stop you there? I know
Sure.
you can keep going for a while. All right, Lynn, who would you like to go to next?
Let's go to Aimee.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. First of all, I just want to point to the picture behind me. This is actually a picture of Max, and it was my first experience with Max. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with Max, deemed to be one of the original Atlantean crystal skulls. I started my journey with skulls and how I use skulls. This is how it came to be. I had very vivid memories of Atlantis. And I didn't realize that I had intuitive abilities, but when I finally stepped into those intuitive abilities, Archangel Metatron stepped forward as my teacher. And so Metatron introduced me to the skulls. And he explained to me that the skulls are basically like the living representation or the physical representation of the Akashic records. So skulls are actually libraries, and they're connected with consciousness, but I use them as libraries in my work. And when the skulls first started speaking to me, it started with Max. But when they first started speaking to me, they would tell me, okay, you need to go get like an amethyst sphere, right? Then they explained that the sphere, actually the way it emanates energy, because every crystal, every shape, whether it's, just pulled out of the earth in its raw state or it's cut to a specific, to specifications, it imparts energy in a different way depending upon the geometry of the crystal. So it was really important to them that I find spheres as the kind of like the conduit between the skull communication and my conscious mind. So they would say to me, okay, you need to go get a really good high quality or not even high quality, but a well cared for amethyst sphere or, a quartz crystal or something like that. And what I found is that when I started comparing the communications that would come through from the skulls through the spheres, they had a very different flavor to them. And the reason why is, well, this is how they explained it to me. They said that, like the color of a sphere, we identify the color. But really the color is a particular mineral. Like the color is dictated by the mineral content. And so they were showing me that, the minerals of the earth are like the libraries for everything that ever happened. So we are the record keepers until we pass, and then our remains go back to the earth, and then the minerals kind of categorize our memories and they hold them. So they're record keepers. Well, the skulls wanted me to connect with specific types of records in order to receive the message with a specific slant or a specific perspective. So I found it really interesting that the quality of the communications that would come through it was very different with each colored sphere. So they have a little bit of a sense of humor. I'm sure some of you have experienced this as well. In fact, I had one of the skulls came through and said I needed to go get a ruby. I was like, okay, well, you need to plant a money tree in my backyard because I can't afford a big ruby, to channel these communications. And I said, I'm going to need some help with this, right? Because, as all of us, we're probably the same in that we have how, our houses are full of crystals. Well, anyway, so one time I was giving a talk and a woman showed up to the talk. I'd never met her before. And she handed me a bag and it looked like it had a paper towel, like a crumpled up paper towel in the bag. And she said, well, they said you need this. I don't really want to give it up, but they said you need it. And I said, oh, okay. What is that? I opened the bag and I unwrapped, I took the paper towel away. She'd written my name on the paper towel. And there was a big ruby.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, thank you. So I rely on these crystal skulls to guide me. I rely on them to show me which library to tap into when I need a specific information. And I trust that they will bring to me the resources that I need to actually get the job done. So that's how I work with skulls.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Okay.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Marguerite and AJ, do you want to answer together since you're working together, or do you want to answer separately? Because you guys are kind of a team, so.
Yeah, we can do it as a team.
All right, so you guys go ahead.
Well, I work with skulls. I've been doing skull meditations. I've been going around since I live on the West Coast, but I'm originally from the East Coast of Florida in Fort Lauderdale in the Hollywood area. And that's where the center was. So I have been doing meditations with them. And we built grids at the center with all of the skulls that we had at the center. I have most of them now. And it shifts energy, as all of you know, it shifts the energy and the people that have come to our circles and to our meditation. And I truly encourage them to bring their skulls or something that they want to have energized on the grid, because they all sat with Max. All of our skulls sat with Max. And afterwards, after the meditation, I truly encourage them to sit on the floor, of course, but sit with them, put their hands on them, especially if they're gravitating towards one of them or all of them. And for me, it's just a beautiful experience to see that there's people there who maybe were afraid, and they find that it's not something to be afraid of, and that the energy is just this beautiful energy, and they all can feel the difference. My biggest skull, which is Mo, is a 22-pound fluorite skull. So they kind of gravitate to him first. But I have a rose quartz that's named Halo because she's got a halo that came up when she was carved. And so they feel that mother energy. So they all have an experience, and that's what I feel is part of my journey, part of why I'm here to help people understand that there's nothing to be frightened of, even though, we've all been conditioned, skull and crossbones. And when actuality, when you're sitting with a skull or in the presence of a skull, it's a whole different ball game. And in my healing work, when I do energy work or healing work, they'll guide me. Yes, they will talk to, they taught Aimee, just like Aimee said, they talk to you and they tell you what you need to do, like do this crystal grid on this person or underneath the table. And, you listen, because sometimes it gets a little loud and you better be listening. And so I just do it, and I just open up and allow my guides, angels, God to work through me. The skulls are known as the Light Collective to guide me in what I need to do for that person who's in front of me. And when they want grids, they will call me, they will pull me, like, we need you to do a grid in the healing room, and I'll do a grid. And sometimes I scratch my head going, what am I doing? And they paying attention, listening, they've helped me open intuitively. I never thought I would really be channeling them, and I'm channeling them. And I do channel for some people, some of my clients that have, come through. But they've also helped me personally with my healing, my own healing. And that's what I'm here for. I'm just here to listen, pay attention, and encourage people to not be afraid of them and what they can do for them on every level, mind, body, spirit, what they're going through, and having them understand what the changes are going to be when you start working with a skull. That's how I've been working with them.
Right. AJ, so how are you participating in all this wonderful
it's so
stuff?
interesting. Yeah, Marguerite never channeled until 2019.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be there for all of that, because the Light Collective literally told me that we want you to write this book and ask questions. So the format of the book that we wrote, right here, Interviews with the Crystal Skulls, is very similar to the Abraham and Hicks model, where they would ask, Jerry would ask questions. So I was asking the questions, and Marguerite, who never really channeled before, everything was just flowing out. And it was over the course of a year. It was an amazing experience. And you can see the 9 skulls that are there. They want to be called Light Collective as a group, but they each have a name, and they each have very specific personalities. Let's say. Yeah. And they each have different types of histories. They have told us that they view themselves as conduits to the messages from higher dimensional beings. Metatron has come through. It's not just their personalities come through. We got messages from Metatron, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and over time, the circle kept growing. Every time we did a meditation for another chapter of the book. Specifically for me, I have a couple of small crystal skulls that I bought during that time. One is this rose quartz one that I bought because I was looking for something similar to Halo, and her name is Tara. And she connected to me because I had done a few past life regressions about 20 years ago. So I knew that I had a first life on this planet on Atlantis, and that I'm Pleiadian on a soul level, and Terra is Pleiadian. And so what she has done is, as a writer and a person who's involved in meditation for all of these years, I kind of get stuck at a certain level until 2020, and then it just kind of took off. So I never did automatic writing before. And I've told Marguerite, like I used to write, okay, maybe a line, maybe 2 lines. Now I write pages, and it's the energy that she's helping me bring through. So that's kind of how I work personally with the 2 that I have. And unfortunately, because Marguerite's across the state, I don't get across to see the Light Collective as much as I would like.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, AJ and Marguerite. So Lyncara, we as the moderators need now to answer this question. So I come to you.
Skulls help with all of my work now. I just have to have them there. They choose to be there, but I do a lot of shamanic work. So I kind of developed a practice where we take mind, body, and soul practices, and we help someone achieve their best energy for self-healing. I do a lot of crystal healing sessions, and what I noticed was there were certain skulls and specific skulls that wanted to do specific jobs for people and help with certain things. So I'll bring them in to do that, whether that's tapping into an inner child work or getting rid of blockages or working with the conscious of someone. They will get to work magically, and they seem to have a certain something that just amplifies crystal healing in general, in my experience. I also do a lot of earth work, so grid work, crystalline grid work, which they're fantastic at. They're great for everything, channeling, downloads. And I've noticed that within the little skull family that I am very blessed to take care of, they each have their own specific job and have made it very clear what they want that job to be. And they have come into my work at a time either myself or a client has needed it. So there's no mistakes there. I just let them dictate a little bit. Funnily enough, also, I was told to write a book. So they're very informative and they know what they want. And I believe they can communicate this through us. There are open channels. And if we are open to them, the information and knowledge that we can receive is just phenomenal. So I would say they've really and truly enriched all my practices and my personal life as well.
Your personal life? You don't want to get into that probably, right? Or do you want to make one little comment about that? I couldn't resist when you said that. I'm sorry.
Shall we show him to everyone?
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, the one I sent you, right?
Yeah, our connective little buddy, Al Atlan.
Yeah, this is an Atlanticite skull.
Yeah. And the amount of people that feel a connection to Atlantis that work with skulls is phenomenal. It can't be denied, I think.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to ask myself questions and answer really fast in Aries mode. How do you work with crystal skulls? I activate them for the people who get them from me, and I send them out to them. Of course, Katrina over here helps me with it, but I call them my crystal kids. They sit and they also share energy with the skull that's going out. This is kind of new for me because when Katrina was here, she would do all this stuff. So now I'm having to put on 2 different hats. Besides being out there publicly to share about information and bring everyone together, I'm also trying to help to make crystal skulls available. So like when Lyncara received El Atlan, I asked her, did you feel some energy or something with it? Just to be curious how my kids were helping and what Katrina was doing. And she said, yes. And I received that comment. Also, another way I work with the crystal skulls is when I do presentations, I bring my kids and I set them all up so that people can have their direct contact with the energy of the skulls. And crazy things happen when that goes on. Sometimes Portal de Luz, who's my largest one, but he's not the one I'm going to show. Somewhere in between, as some of you are answering, Rosalita, which is a rose quartz skull that's based on the Mitchell Hedges, has started to have me show her on Zoom. So I have to take my keyboard away and put some things here. So somewhere she's going to come in. But I just like to have the skulls available for people so they can experience their energy. But Portal de Luz helps me, like when I'm sitting and writing, if he's near me, all of a sudden my ideas flow and I go crazy and everything. So sometimes they'll help me with my gifts. But I will tell you, the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, which is the most powerful one I felt, it changed me the last no, during the Indiana Jones film, not the last time I saw it. When the Indiana Jones film came out in 2008, I had a chance to spend 20 minutes with it and meditate with it. It helped me to go into a state of being peaceful for an Aries. It helped me to go into a state where I don't judge other people, and it helped me to be in the neutral. So in other words, you know, when we work with other people, we just accept who they are. We can offer them suggestions or whatever. So it kind of changed me. And I would be completely bored and crazy if I didn't have this work with the crystal skulls to do, to be honest with you. So that's really, they kind of work through me. And like the other people said, I hear them, they talk to me, I hear them in my thinking voice. And it's like Rosalita said, okay, you've been showing all these other people me on Zoom, so aren't you going to do it here while you're doing the panel? So that's an example of a real event that's happening right now. Because I don't show her a lot because she is two pieces. She has a movable jaw, and I have to be very careful if I set her up. But she's going to sneak in before we finish the panel. So I'm just saying it, so if you see me wandering around and moving things, this is what I do. And the other thing I think the skulls have helped me with is to bring out my child and make me animated. So part of the personality you're meeting here is as a result of spending 40 years around them and trying to understand them and trying to share with people their best aspects. So that's how I would answer this question. All right, so Lynn, should we go to the next one then?
All right. So next question. What is your most powerful or profound experience that you have had with a crystal skull, or an experience that changed your life? Let's go to Marguerite.
Oh, thank you. The most powerful is when we were channeling one of the chapters, and I was starting to go into meditation. I was starting to go down into that alternate space where I channel, and my healing room windows face south. It's my second bedroom, so it faces south. And it wasn't a particularly sunny day, and I'm just going in, just going deeper and deeper, and this white light, I didn't open my eyes, but this white light came into the room, and it just was warm, overwhelming. And I just continued going and doing whatever I was doing. I was answering questions, and the room got much hotter. And then I started to see other beings coming into the room. And it felt like, you know, when you see an operating room and the observatory is up above it and they're looking down at the surgeons, that was what I saw. The angels, the guides, the masters, they were in the room as I was channeling information, and it was very overwhelming and powerful. And I was just like, I was just hot. I just remembered I was feeling very warm. And as I came out of it, and it takes me a little bit of a while to come back into my body. And I just looked at AJ and went, did you see that? It was just a profound moment. I've not, maybe the second time I've experienced something that at first I was like, no. And then I was like, yes, this is real. This is happening. And I don't know if everybody would believe me, but it happened. And so I'm always honored and grateful when I do channel the collective, because I know that's what brought all of those beings in. And it just changed everything. So now it's like, here I am, I'm ready. Whatever you would like me to move through, I will do it. You want me to channel, I will do it. That was one of my most profound moments. And I'm grateful and thankful for all of that,
That sounds amazing. Do you feel that something changed for you in that moment that was different than before? Yeah.
Yes. It was a higher level. I felt like I moved up, whether it was frequency, I felt I moved up and was able to have a closer experience with the masters and the guides and whoever. They were there. And I was overwhelmed, and it was beautiful. And it happens when I do channel with them in my room. I can't say that it always happens when I'm outside and channeling, but when I'm with them in my healing room, it's just a beautiful experience. And I'm overwhelmed sometimes. So that's, yeah. This is what I like to do. This is me.
You found it. What about you, AJ? Would you feel yours was
Oh yeah.
the same one?
There are two actually. The one that Marguerite's referring to, I felt all of those things too. The next one, which was probably the second to last chapter that we did, for me at least, it was even more powerful. It wasn't just a couple of rows of beings. It was like we were in the Colosseum, and they were just everywhere, and the room was so filled with high energy and heat. And that was the time that Metatron came in. And Metatron said a couple of things that, like, I got to ask a question about that. Metatron said, "I sit at the right hand of the Father," and he said, he goes, "I'm not an archangel. It's a mistake that people make, but that's okay." So it was interesting things that we learned things in the last 2 or 3 of those that we had never heard before, and that's how we knew that this is really new information. At least it was for us. So that one was the most powerful one for me. And then the half hour that we sat with Mac, that was an interesting story. Margarita was channeling in one of the chapters, and we asked if we would connect with any of the 13 originals, and she mentioned Mitchell Hedges, said, "But no, we want you to meet with Max." And literally 3 days later, I got a note in my email box that Max was going to be at a facility in Cocoa Beach. And we made the appointment, and January of 2020, it was right towards the end of writing the book, that we spent a half hour with him there. And that was the most interesting meditation session that I ever had in my life.
Yeah. I think Max is really something. I think a lot of people mention him.
And the interesting thing was we thought we were going to go in and Marguerite would channel him, and nothing was happening. Nothing. You could feel the energy, you could feel the healing, but she wasn't getting anything. And then right at the end, she said, Max downloaded all of the information that he wants to convey to Mo, because Mo was sitting there right next to him. And then a week later, we did a meditation at her house, and it all flew out. It was really interesting. For whatever reason, he goes, "I don't like to talk that much." But, so he didn't want to talk that time. I guess he was focused on the healing, and we got the information later.
Yeah, it was a great healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. All right, let's move it along to Shirley.
Well, here I'm in Australia, so I feel like we're an island continent, and it makes, I've often felt quite separated as other people doing the work do from the rest of the world. There is sort of a degree of separation. I can't explain it any differently. So my job is to reconnect and bring skulls, especially from other caretakers that have belonged to other caretakers, to Australia. So we have that energy, which I've successfully done and brought them for other people as well. And, you know, we've all had amazing experiences. Skulls, I've seen them move. You know, their weight changes before you travel somewhere. We've weighed them, you know, all these, there's a million crazy, crazy stories. But a personal one that I would like to share, which I started on before, my son's now 26 and he was probably about 12, 13. And he was playing basketball and he hurt himself. So we went to the doctors and they, to the x-ray. He had to have an x-ray because they thought he'd probably done something, you know, a bit of a slight fracture or something like that. They weren't sure. So the doctors sent us to the x-ray department. We went and got the x-rays. The guy showed us, and there was a hairline fracture. Now it's obviously 10 years or more ago, so I can't remember if it was down here or somewhere, but you could see it on the x-ray. They did, you know, several, and there was a picture, and you could see it, the hairline fracture. And he was like, oh, I can't play. And we had to go back to the doctors in about an hour to show him with our x-rays. We went home first, and in that time, Manaka came. He arrived from the UK. He belonged to Sharon Lynn, White Elk woman. And oh, he's so big, I'll put him down. And Justin said, oh, Mum, the skull's here. The guy delivered him, and he said, can we unwrap it? And I said, yeah, all right, we've got an hour. He sat in the chair, and we unwrapped the skull, you know, and he sat with him, and I took some photos and everything. And I went, oh, look at this photo. There's all this, one of them out of a series of photos was blurry, and there's all this blue light. And I was like, something's going on. Anyway, we went down to the doctors, and we went in, and I said, oh, looks like he's got a fracture. They showed us when we brought the x-rays too. And the doctor's looking, he said, no, there's nothing. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, there's a whole picture. And you can see it. He said, there's nothing here. Not only was there no fracture, the whole was gone. The photo was gone. It no longer existed. Oh, like that was, you know, Justin's going, Mum, it was there. The doctor thought we were crazy. Yeah. Because it just disappeared off the whole film. No picture of that anymore. Didn't exist. So I figured that photo, which I still have in my photos, it was this shimmering blue light. See how we're looking at Brian now he's got shimmering light behind him and that blue? That's exactly what it looked like, all up that arm where he was holding the skull. And to me, that's been such, you know, that was an amazing, what can you do? I can only tell the story and it's true. You know, that's the power of these things. And so, like I said, bringing them here holds an energy and space. I've sat with Max. I've been very lucky to sit with a few, you know, amazing skulls, and bring that energy. So, and I have skulls that belong to Moonhawk, to Gary, who, you know, on his pyramid, they sat with all the skulls all those years ago. So I hold the space here, and I think that's why I do consider it a privilege and a gift, and so many things have happened. But when on a personal note, when it's that powerful, it can make an actual picture of an x-ray disappear. What more can I say? And I contacted Sharon and let her know, and she said the same thing had happened when she'd had him for all those years over there in a similar incident. So that's probably, you know, we've been through tornadoes at a Crystal Skull conference in Phoenix, Arizona back in 2010. The big tornado blew in from nowhere, and so many things. But I'll just share that little one because I think that was such a proof and evidence. And as I said, I have the photo which shows it. So what do you say?
Absolutely. I think there's loads of stories where certain things just cannot be explained, and I don't think we should look for it to be
That's right.
scientifically explained either. There has to be some magic.
It
So
just happened. It
yeah,
was. He was happy because he went off and played basketball. He didn't. There was nothing wrong in it.
fully
Not to,
healed. Like,
he
that
was
was it.
fine. It was
Yeah.
fine.
Wow. All right. I'm going to pass it over to Josh for the next three panelists.
Okay, I'm trying to sneak in here with Rosalita. All right, so I would like to go to Brother Dan next and ask this question. What is your most powerful experience you've ever had with a crystal skull or connected to one?
All right. Well, this is a fun one for me. There is a sacred native pyramid mound site that I have initiated contact for at before and feel deep connection to. It's called Astral in Wisconsin. And it's like a long lost home for me. At least that's what it felt like when I went there. The site is located on an energetic ley line where there is a powerful energetic dispersal and concentration effect. Because of my interest in Atlantis, Aslan, and my belief that Aslan is connected to Atlantis, I was guided to get a crystal skull and bring it there. I made a specific plan that was pretty complex and included a number of rituals to prepare myself and the land for this activation and connection to the 13th. I worked with some of my mentors and created activation mantras and wrote a specific set of prayer rituals. It was my intent to open a portal to Atlantis and the 13 legendary crystal skulls. It was a deeply symbolic and spiritual act that ended up being heavily witnessed by a lot of extraterrestrial and higher dimensional beings. I went there all alone with no expectations, just this plan of bringing my crystal skull and sacred objects. And I hiked all the way up to the top of the mound with all my stuff in a few different loads. And I placed my skulls on top of some crystal clusters on top of the largest pyramid mound and as like an amplification centerpiece. And I completed a clearing and banishal ritual. And then I started my invocation and connection prayer. When that happened, it starts by me addressing source, all that is, and then I activate and invoke a number of divine beings, including Atlanteans and the 13 crystal skulls of Aslan and my extraterrestrial counterparts and hybrid connections. So I was really feeling the vibe of this powerful place in this prayer that I had written when I got to this part where I say and invoke the legendary 13 crystal skulls of Aslan. And I said aloud at that point, all the 13 legendary crystal skulls of Aslan. And at that moment, I was seated right next to my crystal skull centerpiece at the apex of the mound. And just feeling that moment, I reached down with my hand and I touched the skull on the back of the head lightly. And as soon as I did, the skull started to vibrate rapidly. It was super intense and it shot this crazy energy into my body. The only thing on our world that I could compare to the strength and force that it was shaking with is actually a pneumatic air hammer, which is a tool used to carve and drill and chip away at stone, metal, other hard objects. So the skull was physically awakened when I touched it. It started to shake at first, and it was so unexpected. I almost didn't even believe it. A couple of minutes after this happened, I was kind of in shock, and I reached down again though. And I wasn't expecting anything to happen because it just was so, different. So, but I reached down again and I touched it again on the back of the head, just like it did before. And it shook again, even harder maybe than the first time. And I held on to it like a little bit longer, which wasn't easy to do because it was shooting this energy into my body. When it shot the energy into me, I could actually feel that this energy and shaking was coming from the core of Mother Earth, and it was pulsing into my crystals and then into me. So I could feel like the directionality of this energy flowing into me. It was a really powerful experience. Just to put it lightly, I saw a vision and was told by Mother Gaia that she created me, at least in part, so that I would specifically do this. And I had a vision of myself with crystal skulls and meditating with some friends and like some directions for the future. So I feel really blessed that I was able to have an experience like this, and it will be forever more imprinted on my memory as one of the most miraculous moments of my life. I have been that night. I also had experiences with 44 other different extraterrestrials, Aslanteans, Atlanteans, what I believe, and also a hybrid extraterrestrial craft that flew over me at low altitude. So it's and I was able to, since then, I've been able to share those vibrations and energies with many other people activating their crystal skulls with the 13.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Your
Brian,
description of the vibration reminds me of Kundalini experience.
Yes. Yeah, that's about one of the only things that you could compare it to. I have had Kundalini awakenings as well.
I wanted to make one comment about what AJ said. The crystal skulls love sharing energy and knowledge and information with each other. This is a key thing. Like when Portal de Luz had the opportunity to sit with the Mitchell head to skull, he just received all kinds of energies and information. So this is a common thing. So thank you for bringing that up. All right, Aimee, I'd like to go to you next and like to ask you, what is the most amazing experience you've had with a crystal skull?
Wow. Well, it's really hard to pick one because I feel like I have like daily experiences with these, but this is something that happened back in 2012. I became aware of, I'm very interested in Atlantis, like many of the other panelists, and I became aware of this Atlantean artifact that had been recovered. And it was recovered by a treasure hunter back in, I want to say, I don't remember the details, but it was maybe like in the 80s. Anyway, and some of you may be familiar with this. It's called the Bimini Sphere. It was discovered in a crystal pyramid off the coast of Bimini, off the Bimini Row, underwater. Anyway, I read about it and I was fascinated. And I felt a little bit of a pull. It was like, ooh, it sparked a memory within me. So, anyway, that crystal ended up changing hands. It was taken out by the person who found it. It was taken out of the pyramid, and then it kind of moved around a little. It exhibited some very strange qualities. Like you put a dowsing rod next to it, and it would bend the dowsing rod in half. It was a very curious object, but it also created a little bit of chaos for the keepers. So it got passed around a little. Anyway, it landed with its current guardian, and his name is Arthur Fanning. And you can go and read about this. You can Google this and read about the story online. But I felt very drawn to this sphere. And so Arthur was touring the country and bringing this sphere and sharing it with people. So I found out about a conference that was happening in Galveston, Texas, where he'd be sharing the sphere. Anyway, I'm going to kind of cut to the chase here because I could make the story really long. But basically, what happened is Arthur had to pull out of the conference at the last minute. But I'd already booked tickets, and my business partner and I were going to go to Galveston to see the sphere because it was like I had to be with it. Anyway, so Arthur pulled out of the conference. We went to the conference anyway, but afterwards, I said to my business partner, I need to meet Arthur and I need to be with the sphere. I don't know what it is. And so it wasn't so easy to get in touch with Arthur because he'd apparently gone underground. Because, when you have an artifact like this, people come out of the woodwork, to find you and to be with the artifact. And anyway, he kind of went underground. So my business partner said to me, you know what, we'll find him. Don't worry, we're going to find him. Anyway, so we put that on the back burner for a little while. But one day I was meditating and Max came through. And he showed me just his skull. And then he showed me like his skull lifted up. And then I could see the spine underneath him. And it was like I could see each of the vertebrae, and
Wow.
it was light. And come to find out, I'm not the only one that's had this vision. There actually, Joanne Parks, who was the keeper of Max for many years, she actually has pictures, that were taken with a regular camera where you can see the light spine with Max's head on top of it. Anyway, so Max came to me and he said, "You need to be with this sphere." And I thought, I have some trust issues. So it's kind of like, well, all right, maybe I'm a little bit crazy here. But he said, "You need to be with this sphere." And I said, "Okay, well, how am I going to do that?" Arthur pulled out of the conference and I don't know where he is and he's gone underground. And he said, "Don't you worry about that. We are going to take care of all of those details. You just need to be ready to go when the moment arrives." And I said, "Okay. All right, I'm at the service of the Crystalline Skull Network." So a few days passed and my business partner called me and he said, "I think I found him. I think I found Arthur." And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, sure." So he called the number that he had, left a message, and Arthur called him back the next day. And he said, "You're working with a woman." He said, I need to connect with her." He said, I need to connect with her. And so my business partner put me together with Arthur. And when I talked to him, he said, "They told me you were coming. They told me you were coming. I need your help. I need you to get on a plane and come out here immediately." And I said, "Oh, well, hold your horses. We'll get to that." But yeah, it was really interesting because Max, he facilitated that meeting because Arthur was not really in a space of trusting new people. So he facilitated that meeting. But what happened after that was mind blowing to me. I mean, that was interesting enough. But then what happened when I actually got to be with this Bimini sphere, which, by the way, is very connected to the skulls. The skulls were part of a network, and they worked together with other, with generator crystals and other types of crystals. And that Bimini sphere was according to Max, was from the original crystalline network of Atlantis. But he said to me before I left, I said, "What do I need to do to prepare?" We set up this meeting in Sedona, by the way. We set up this meeting spot. "What do I need to do to prepare?" And he said, "You go get a crystal." And I had to get a sphere. And it was, and it had to be from a specific mine. It had to be a Lemurian crystal that was from the Diamante mine in South America. So I did. I got it. And he said, "You need to bring this with you, and you need to be with Arthur in that Bimini sphere for 18 hours because you're going to be receiving a download." And I was like, "How am I going to do? Like, he's not going to leave this priceless artifact with me. Like, how am I going to be with this for 18 hours?" Max said, "Don't worry. You leave that to us." Okay, fine. So this was April of 2012. Got to Sedona, checked into our hotel, and then Arthur was on his way to come meet us with the sphere, and it started to snow in April in Sedona. And it snowed like, it was like a blizzard. There was like a foot of snow on the little balcony outside of our hotel, outside of our little cottage that we rented. And so Arthur actually had to spend the night with us in his crystal sphere. And the next morning, we were up and the snow had dissipated, but we were with that Bimini sphere for exactly 18 hours. So, yeah, so I was like, okay, all right. So that was, and I brought the crystal with me today. That received the download from that Bimini sphere. So if you feel inclined to tap into the energy, it's pretty powerful. So yeah, that's probably my most powerful and interesting experience that I've had with the crystal skulls, with their guidance.
And it's interesting because after I met Katrina, we went to Key West to a spiritual center where Arthur Fanning shared that Atlantean crystal ball. And he felt inspired to place it in my right hand, and its energy is still there. But there are rumors that the ball self-destructed when it was brought to Mount Shasta at a center there. So yeah, I'm not sure it's anymore, but he was sharing it. So it's interesting that both Aimee and I had this experience because I never he didn't like me. I didn't expect him to put the ball into my hand. He didn't want my crystal skulls to be around that ball. But he did, and I can link into it whenever I want to, just by thinking about it. So it's really cool.
You know, and it did break. I saw, in fact, that's one of the reasons why Arthur said, you need to be with this sphere. I need to get you here, because it actually broke, and he brought the two pieces. And my job, the skulls guided me through building a field, because the energy wasn't stable. So, you know, and this was information that I brought forward from Atlantis. Like, I had the knowledge to actually build this field and kind of stabilize the field around the crystal when it started to break.
So it's an interesting story. Okay, Tal, we're ready to hear your special experience.
I want to share my light language experience.
Okay.
I was really interested on purchasing a crystal skull star being, this one.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful being from clear quartz. And when he was on the way to me, I felt that I was downloaded. I was downloaded with information, with light codes, something that never happened to me before I received the skull. So one morning after this download, I went to take a shower, and in the shower, I felt this connection again with this crystal skull. And again, I felt this download of information and light codes. And I just started speaking this language, which I couldn't understand. And I just let it flow. And since then, I've been speaking light language. I've been using this in my healing sessions. I've been activating other people. And it's really, really amazing. Can I demonstrate a little bit?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Oh, please.
Just look at the eyes of this beautiful being. Be in your heart space. Take a deep breath. Uriana sarei kundere ke alai sandura wande. Sirion boro koya ke asendora pongare istande ke ya. Guru sinda ista urukole esene nore ke yamandere ki asendoro koyala. Pindako tu sere ke yamongo sinditi ala okoro ki andasene. Wara ke sindura ki ande okoro koyo mandase. Sirikimbara eska or conduse se mandere kia. Shora ereke, kombarekeya na kondure kintisi simboro koyono sindarakeya. Loro koyono sipatat, alaki ara kondusta tetere. Sho sosonduri ki anane su konduriak maktaktire kinduru kuandere ke isindak sur ser sindarachka awaknaktira. And they are telling me that don't be surprised if you will start speaking your own light language, your own divine expression of light language.
Skull's right eye was lighting up.
Yeah.
Yes, nice.
Totally activated, yeah.
Yeah.
And on his crown, did you see the V? I could see like a very light V here too.
Okay, so Tal gave us an experiential one here. It's good. It's good to have a lot of variety here. I think it's good.
Great.
All right, Lyncara, what experience would you like to share with us out of your many numerous ones?
So I'm going to pick one that I think will be nice for everyone, not just an experience that I've had. And it was with the Himalayan quartz skull, who's called Sakya. My first meditation with her was very profound. It hit all my senses. It's not uncommon for that to happen to me, but at the level that it did, it was very, very strong. So I feel like the skull took me on a journey, a shamanic journey where I was flying, and she's taking me over these mountains, and we get higher and higher. They're like snow-capped mountains, and it's like I'm a bird. I'm trying to kind of cut this down. I could feel like ice cold air around me. A lot of people say they feel heat. This for me was freezing, but in a very good way. So every one of my senses was sort of amplified. And this skull started to download to me words that I just couldn't make sense of, very similar to what Tal has explained. It became clear they were a language I didn't understand. And for 2 days, I sat in meditation with this skull, and I just wrote down the words it was giving to me. So as I'm communicating with it, she starts showing me words as opposed to just images. And I wrote them all down, and I actually had them translated. And it turns out that I had received a download of a Tibetan prayer. I'd never heard it in my life. I'd never seen it written. And it came to me in Sanskrit. And everything this skull would give to me was in Sanskrit. So it took me a little while to kind of get into grips with using her. But she's definitely one of the most profound skulls. The reason I wanted to cut the story short is because I was going to offer out in case anybody wanted to hear what the download was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if I should read it in Sanskrit because I don't know how to pronounce that. But I will. She added to it, and I'll read it to you what it was.
Yeah.
So this is a message from Sakya. So she says, may all beings over the planet, all realms, all planes of existence, and universes existing now across time and space be centered in happiness and joy, and free from suffering in the divine state of unified existence. May it be so. May all beings be happy and full of love, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness, peace, and freedom for all. It must be so.
Beautiful.
I thought it was really beautiful. And I
Beautiful.
thought it was important to share. So this is her. She's Mayan, Himalayan quartz. And I do believe that the images of the mountains that she showed me are probably where she grew as a crystal before she was carved. So I thought it was beautiful.
Special.
Wonderful. Shahiroz, are you there? We're ready to hear your experience. Okay, so I have two key experiences, but I only have time to tell you one. So I'm going to mention them both and tell you how, if you want to know about the one with the skull that I haven't seen yet, there's a book that I wrote that you can receive. So there's a blue, translucent blue crystal skull that appeared to me, and I went to look for it in Peru. And I have a book called Search for the Blue Skull in Peru. So I'm going to just mention it, that anybody who's interested to know more, that you may want to take a look at that book. I have both the printed version and the digital version of it. The key essence of it is that this is a skull that exists in a different dimensional frequency right now. I think it was in Atlantis. That's where I saw it before. And I went 3 times to Peru to look for it. And I have to sneak down here. It appears all the time above me in this direction. Okay, so I can communicate it with it all the time, but it is not in our physical reality. So that's all I have time to say about it. If you want to read all my experiences looking for it in Peru, then you have to go to the book. The one I'm going to go to is my experience with the Mitchell Hedges skull during the Indiana Jones film. During that period of time, I had an opportunity to visit with Bill Holman, who's the guardian of the Mitchell Hedges skull, which is the most well-known physical crystal skull. And after I did an interview with him, he allowed me about 20 minutes to do a meditation with it. So it was put on a tiny table. I was in a meditative pose on the ground. It was on a lazy Susan, so I was not supposed to touch the skull, but I could move the direction the skull faced. And I had 3 of my personal skulls with me, Portal de Luz, Geronimo Golden Eagle Eye, and a rose quartz skull, which Katrina changed the name, so I keep forgetting what it was called. But these are all 3 modern skulls. Portal de Luz was facing the Mitchell Hedges skull like this, and the other 2 were behind it, creating a triangle. The first half of my experience with the Mitchell Hedges skull, I felt like I was in heaven. The energy was totally peaceful and calm. I could have sat there for a long time, which is not normal for me as an Aries because I get bored after I do something for a period of time. I want to go on to the next thing. But the most important thing that happened to me was, so I'm sitting in front of it, and up in the sky in this direction, in the corner of the room, I sensed, I didn't see, but I sensed, because my spiritual gifts are I hear telepathic messages and I feel energies. So I sensed in this direction compared to me where some advanced beings who knew everything that there was about me, somehow the Mitchell Hedges skull created a dimensional door that they came through. And this is basically, I noticed what changed me to become a much more calm, peaceful Aries, a much more trusting Aries, not judgmental, working in the neutral. It was like I got totally shifted, but I also felt as if I got more protection because there's not too many things that bother me anymore. And so I felt like my vibrational frequency was changed, and I still am not totally sure who those beings were that were with the Mitchell Hedges go. So one final comment I'll make before we go to our last question to our panel. I think those of you who are here and those of you who will watch the recording of this see the wide range of experiences that all of us are having around the crystal skulls and how they're making a great difference and a profound difference in our life. And so this is part of the reason why I believe that they're here now, is to help humanity with, becoming more of who we're supposed to be, divine children of God, bringing us to work together in peace and harmony. All right, so this is the last question, which I think is the most important question of today. And that is, in your individual opinions, panelists and moderators, what is the true purpose or reason that the crystal skulls exist in our world, and how will they greatly assist and benefit humanity as we go forward? So I'm going to start with Dan.
All right. So yeah, I think that crystal skulls help us get in touch with our core archetypal energy of our true selves. So they're a tool that we can use to connect with and communicate with higher realms, extraterrestrials, planets, and stars. Crystal skull acts as a receptive device, taking in and storing those energies so that they can be brought into our bodies, minds, and spirits to work with and feed us on our spiritual path. When you use magic to program them, I have found that the experiences really take off and they really respond well. They're very powerful and expansive. I think that crystal skulls and magic will become more and more commonplace, and that someday everyone will have a crystal skull, just like everyone has a cell phone today, for communication and also for their spiritual tools and teachers in the future. In my view, crystal skulls exist in our world as powerful keys to reawakening and spiritually activating humanity, helping us to reconnect with our ancient wisdom and guiding us to higher states of consciousness. I believe that the ancient prophecies surrounding the 13 crystal skulls, particularly those of the Mayan and Hopi and Navajo and other natives, speak of a time when these skulls will come together to reveal profound wisdom to humanity and usher in a long age of peace. The prophecies tell us that the skulls hold keys to survival and spiritual awakening of humanity, containing encoded messages that will guide us through pivotal times of transformation. As we move deeper into the age of Aquarius, a period characterized by enlightenment, unity, and spiritual expansion, the 13 and the Greater Crystal Skull Network help guide us through this great transition. They're not just relics of the ancient past. They are living tools holding the consciousness of ancient civilizations like Aslan, helping us to reawaken as guardians called to protect and work with them. Okay. Beyond our spiritual and collective spiritual evolution, I think that crystal skulls are the key to humanity's preparation for peaceful first contact and open contact with extraterrestrial beings. They act as intermediaries and guides, elevating our consciousness to be able to engage with these advanced civilizations and bring forward mutual understanding and growth. As we move forward, I think the crystal skulls will assist humanity by facilitating healing to the earth and ourselves and restoring balance. By working with them, we can align with the highest possible timeline for humanity's future, one of peace, harmony, and abundance into the golden age.
Beautiful. Lynn, it's up to you now. Who should we go to next and see if they can add to this magnificent summary that Dan just gave us?
Let's go to Aimee.
Okay. So the crystal skulls, in my personal opinion and from my experience, on an individual level, I believe I would call a skull a divinity mirror. Okay, if you think about it, we already have, everyone has a crystal skull already, right? And it's inside of you. So when you interact with the skull and you become more aware of the geometries of the skull and just feel the energy of it, I think it makes you more self-aware and it helps you to tap into your own internal library. So on a personal level, I believe that the skull is a divinity mirror. And the way it's been explained to me from my friends beyond the veil is that a skull is a collection of geometries that tell a story. Okay, it is the perfect container for the human experience and the stories of the human experience, which really that explanation kind of shifted my views on skulls. You know, like Marguerite was saying, you know, people fear skulls, but when I started looking at it as the perfect container for the human experience, then it became something so beautiful and glorious to me. So I think on that personal level, that's what the skulls are doing for us. But on a collective level, I believe, and I've been told, again, from communications that came from my friends beyond the veil, they said that the Atlantean crystalline satellite network, which was the sustainment network of Atlantis. I mean, it sustained the atmosphere and the reality of Atlantis. I believe these skulls are coming back together because this network is being powered up. So, and I think that is part of the reason why we're all feeling drawn to come together. It's because we each have a little piece of the puzzle that will help resurrect that network, only in a better way. You know, we've spent 13,000 years reincarnating and learning more and cultivating more wisdom so that when we put this network back together in coordination with the skulls, it's going to be something even greater than what it was that we experienced in that ancient time period. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's a good opinion. Okay, so do I get to pick now, Vin?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go to Tal. So something else you want to add to what Dan and Aimee have already said, which is wonderful, amazing.
It was well put.
Yeah.
I wanted to add that the skull wants us to be better people, better persons. I really feel that since I started working with them, they made me a better person. And I just want to read a brief channeled message I channeled through one of my skulls about their purpose here in the here and now. The moment has come, the time is now. The ancient knowledge that lies within us awakens and is here to help us remember. To remember the essence of our existence, to remember the way of the heart that opens before us and requires us to make changes in our lives. Agreeing to surrender to what wants to come will bring the dawn of a new era of great presence, personal and social responsibility, and collective healing. Through connecting and walking with the consciousness of the crystal skulls, we have access to the field of knowledge and the knowledge brought by our spiritual ancestors, but we also have access to our future essence. We have the possibility to connect more and more to our multidimensionality and move from one place to another and extract from the different times and dimensions the pearls of wisdom we are looking for. But how can we do that? By dreaming. We open gates to our multidimensionality. We are here to be those gates and show you the way home to yourself. Join us on the journey of discovery. The gate is open.
Definitely. Beautiful.
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 All right,
All right.
Lynn.
Go to
you want-
Shirley.
I feel like they open up the portals inside us to our higher consciousness. And that when activated, and I mean us, not the skulls, we're the ones that have to become activated. They bring us together. They bring it, and they show us and teach us and allow us to then feel that energy of unity that we all speak about. We start to feel it because the skulls are a global conglomerate. So they bring us together from all over the planet to create that energy. They remind us who we are, what we're capable of. I always feel very safe and protected. I feel like they're a force field that goes up and out when required. Whether we're working singly or as a group, they help us, they work with us to create the appropriate vibrational frequency that is required for whatever's going on, and that just must zoom out to the planet in waves. They remind us, I feel it's all about humility and grace, because ego is really dangerous in this energy and this work. So they always give us these little lessons. It's a lesson and a blessing. Lessons to stay out of that ego. Have healthy ego, so we're loving it and we're love what we're doing and everything, but not negative ego. They bring us, remind us to work with, as I said, humility and grace. And they create a platform. They've created a platform for us to work together with and discover more. The wisdom keepers, which I know someone said before, it generates within us. It brings it out of our cellular memory so we can remember, because we also know everything. We have it all in here, and I feel that they help bring it, to our conscious memory. So past life experiences and everything like that. But that's what I think, what I feel.
Beautiful.
So Marguerite and AJ, you want to answer together on this question from your information you received from your beautiful skulls and what they've told you?
Go ahead.
What I learned was that they are a conduit to the higher dimensional beings. And that's who I felt I was channeling through each of those skulls. And so it helps us, that helped me open up more to what I know, what I'm remembering. So it's all of the above, because we've all been doing this work probably for a very long time, and we've in our experiences. But there's more, and we all are going to share that, I feel, whether it's this group and beyond, to help people understand of the higher beings, who and what they are, and what they're here to help us do in the coming years. That
Definitely.
AJ?
Yeah, on a very, I look at it in one way on a very personal level, and the overriding message that we got was that they're here to help us heal and ascend one soul at a time. But on the bigger level, the thing that I got, because we learned so much about our Earth history being much larger and bigger than anybody can imagine, the phrase that kept coming back to me was many dimensions, many universes. And it was a way for them to tell us that, we're a very, very small part of what's going on And they have, somebody mentioned about minerals and how that holds the information. They have a lot more information to still share.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you both. Okay, Lyncara, what's your take on all the, huh?
Oh, I was going to say, leading off of what AJ just said about knowledge and things to share, I feel no matter who's working with the skulls, we get almost what we need at the time or what we're open for at the time. So as our practice with them or our spiritual gifts or practices enhance, then I feel so does our work with the skulls and what they bring to us. Like we see them as vessels, but we are also those vessels. And so they coexist alongside of us. And one thing I find fascinating, and I think is important, is because we're open and we can communicate with so many different energies. There's earth energies, there's star energies. And, you know, when I look at Dan and I see his work and he's working very much with astral energies, I think sometimes we also forget that skulls are very much earthly companions too. And I've been led back to working with them with the earth when we look at, you know, native tribes and Mayan and how they would have worked with them and had them and kept them blessed. And it's almost like our connection to all there was, is, and ever will be in this cycle. They kind of have all that. And if we're open to it, we have that information coming to us because we are all connected and we always sort of will be. So the more we open our heart space and our souls into this energy of, you know, opening more conscious and subconscious levels, the greater we grow as not only earthly beings, but I think spiritual and energetic beings. And so the skulls assist us in doing this. And we will each have our own journey with them. And everyone will work with different energies and their levels of their intensity with those levels. And I think there's a beauty in that. There's a rebirth in that all the time. So in some ways, I don't see us as separated from the skulls and vice versa. It's almost like we are them. They're our ancestors. They're everything. They're the stars, the earth. And I think when I look at it that way, I feel more gifted because there's no blocks in the knowledge and information that I wish to receive or I wish to give out. I feel like I can amplify my love and gratitude to a place through the skulls and receive back. I hope that makes some kind of sense.
Yes.
Everybody's nodding. It makes
Yep.
sense. For me, when they speak to me, they said that they're here on the earth, number one, to assist us to create a peaceful world. There are two profound experiences, which I don't have time to discuss. But again, I have a free ebook that talks about them, which if anybody wishes to contact me, I can give it to you, where the future that's coming is going to be total paradise. And so I know that they have started to reemerge to assist us, humanity, to help us to create this golden age, this peaceful age. Because number one, they hold sacred knowledge and information. A lot of the indigenous people said they're the gifts from the gods, so they're probably the galactics gifted us these skulls and kept special energy and sacred knowledge inside of them. Of course, probably all of us here on the panel, from our past lives, from our DNA, we're already locked into the skulls, so we're receiving it. But this is for all of humanity. So we are here as visible examples for other people to show, hey, look what's happening to us with these skulls. It's unbelievable. Our lives are being changed and we're claiming our gifts. We're claiming our spiritual knowledge. There's a story that I wrote too about, Dan was talking about the 13 crystal skulls coming together, that there was this special set of skulls that may have existed in other civilizations before that has been hidden, that may come back together, that when their energy is together, it will activate the higher frequencies so that all of a sudden we go into 5D consciousness. This is a prophecy that has been talked about by many people. for me, the physical return of the skulls is the sign that this age of paradise is on its way, and there is nothing that's going to be able to stop it. And there are still, according to Katrina, Katrina decided to show up here. There are still so many skulls that we have not seen yet that are getting ready to be released as well. And so I just see that it's going to be a marriage in the future where we're going to know how to tap into their wisdom, their knowledge, their energy. It's all about bringing paradise. That's what I think is their ultimate message. Thank you, Katrina. By the way, Katrina told me that she can speak through and have contact with people, not just me talking to me when I bring Rosalita out. This is the crystal skull that she will be able to express herself with. So for the last part of my message, she wishes to share an energy through this skull. This is why it was very important I bring it out. So I'm going to lower it down so you can see her a little bit better. To finish up on this last question, she wants to share a vibration of love with everyone here and everyone watching this video. So just pause here for about half a minute and just let Katrina do her thing from the angelic kingdom. So go ahead and close your eyes and receive from her. This is her gift to all of us from Spirit. All right, when you're ready, you can start to come back. I had no idea she was going to do that. Okay. All right, so everybody back now? So we're coming to the last piece before we open up to questions, and that is for each of you, if you have some other comment, some other thing that you want to share that was not asked in the questions, to briefly feel free to do it, and also reintroduce yourself.
I feel like I just want to thank everybody for being here, and you especially, Joshua, for reconnecting us all again, because it had gone, like I said before, here, especially here in Australia. We don't have as much going on as you do in the US and over Europe and things. There's not, I wouldn't say, nearly the amount of caretakers. We're far and few between. So I feel my job that I do here, and I will always do it and hold the space. And so I'm grateful to be reconnected. And I think what I would like to say to everyone is to remember that we are global, and that it's harder for some of us to connect, and that there's not as much going on. So just to keep that in mind, and everybody everywhere to keep in mind that should be a real sharing of energy, and accessibility for everyone, and to make it to keep it on a level where everybody feels that they too can do it, even if they don't have a skull, to remind people that the skulls are etheric, they're everywhere. So just sort of share that energy around is important. That's all I'll say. You can find me on Facebook, of course, under ShirleySienna, but I have my website, which is www.ShirleySienna.com, and that's Melbourne, Australia, and that's it, really. Thank you is what I want to say, and I'm grateful for the reconnection.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Shirley, for agreeing to participate and get up so early in the morning to do this. Marguerite, anything you'd like to finish sharing, and how can people contact you?
I would just like to say thank you to everyone. It was very nice meeting all of you. And thank you, Josh, again, for inviting me to participate. And I look forward to seeing you in October.
Definitely.
You can contact me at mjpizzati@hotmail.com. I'm Marguerite Pizzati, and I'm from Fort Myers, Florida. And so thank you.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And have a blessed day, everybody.
Thank you. All right, AJ, up to you. Anything else you want to share? And how can people
Sure,
contact
Joshua,
you?
thanks for inviting me. This is really interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed meeting everyone. AJ Ferrara, my email address is ajferrara0118@gmail for anyone who wants to reach out. I just want to leave you with one small thing. The skulls gave us so much information as we went through writing the book. This one's pertinent. It's just one small quote. After the tumultuous time of the next 5 years, peace will prevail. And that was channeled by Marguerite in 2020. So what you said about what's coming, I believe totally, and I think we're close.
Yeah, very close.
We can pray for that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, AJ, for participating and also helping me to have a little more male presence here on our panel, because when I speak about crystal skulls, it's mostly the ladies that come. Okay. Dan, you're up next. Any final comments, and how can people contact you?
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Dan K. Schroeder. It is my great honor and privilege to be with you all today and share my information and experiences with crystal skulls. If anyone is interested in reaching out to me, I do meditations and magical rituals on the new moon, full moon, equinoxes, solstices. So if somebody's interested in getting in touch with me to be a part of that group, you're welcome to contact me. I usually work with other first contact Earth ambassadors and crystal skull guardians in that way. I have a YouTube channel where I share my UFO encounters. It's my name is Dan K. Schroeder on YouTube. And I also am a presenter every year at the in northern Wisconsin at the Contact Modalities Tour at Big Arb. So you can reach me at danschroederusa@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Dan K. Schroeder. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan, for being here. And again, adding some brother energy. All right, we go to Tal. What would you like to share, and what do you wish to say for contact information?
I just wanted to say how grateful I am for being here. And I really feel that the skulls bring us all together. And it really feels like the world is a small place. And it's really important to be together. I am doing light language activation, dowsing sessions, healing session, crystal healing sessions, meditation, crystal skulls workshops. So if anyone is interested, you're welcome to contact me at my email, tal.healing@gmail, or to find me on Facebook, Tal Hershko.
Okay, thank you so much, Tom. Sister Aimee, any final thoughts, and how can people contact you?
Thank you, Joshua. Well, I feel like I received so many gifts today. My body is actually vibrating, kind of like what Dan described. Maybe not as dramatic, but my body is actually like vibrating. And while some of you were speaking, I could hear these tones, you know, with my inner auditory senses. Tal, when you shared that light language, I see energy, and I could see it looked like a delivery of blueprints, perhaps maybe the foundation for peace. And that prayer that you shared, Lyncara, I mean, I just feel so full after this experience. So even though, Joshua, you asked me to come and be a panelist and share my knowledge and wisdom, I feel like what I received in exchange for being here was way beyond what I was able to offer. So thank you for that. You can see my website up on the screen, ihsunity.com. So you can reach me through the contact function and my website if you want to get in touch. I do readings, but I also have a team of practitioners that work techniques that I've channeled from the skulls and beyond. And it's mostly for the purposes of healing and elevating the function of the energy field. So that's how you reach me. And that's a little bit more about what I offer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aimee. All right, Miss Moderator, Lyncara, what final thoughts do you have for our panel, and how do people contact you?
So firstly, it's been an absolute blessing to be here with everyone today. I'd probably say Aimee took the words right out of my mouth. It's been absolutely amazing to be connected again. I believe we've all been connected before. So thank you for bringing us all together and networking this and doing this work. It's truly special. So yeah, there's no words other than I send much love and gratitude to everyone here. It's been absolutely fantastic. So for me, I do a lot of shamanic work. I am an animal Reiki master teacher, and most of my work consists of crystal. I don't like to use the word healing, but crystal works, crystal energy. I do a lot of animism. I'm connected to animism, animal communication, and also shamanic practices where we look at animals that help you and crystals that help you on your journey. I share a lot of my work on Mintaka Mermaid, and that is on all my social media. So that's Instagram, Facebook, and my website, which is www.mintakamermaid.co.uk. And you can contact me at mintakamermaid@gmail.com. And if anyone's unsure of the spelling, I'll pop it down in the chat.
Okay, very good. All right, Shahiroz, something you would like to share about how to contact you for the Metaphysical Hub or the things that you're offering online, please?
Thank you, Joshua. Yeah,
And
so
if you have any thoughts too, because you're a Crystal Skull Guardian as well, so maybe you have something else you want to share.
sure. Well, first of all, I'm Metaphysical Hub, and that's how Joshua and I met. I already shared that story, but yeah, I interview people who are beautiful, amazing, metaphysical people of our world. And I would be honored to interview any and all of you. You can find me at metaphysicalhub.com. You can also find me at Shahiroz.ca. And
Okay,
the one where I slept with Krishna is the most profound for me in my experience. And it was like a Groundhog Day experience where Joshua basically came to me with all these skulls. And he says, "Do you want one for tonight?" And I'm like, "What? Why?" And he shows me all of them. You can sleep with any one of them tonight if you want. And he was staying in our home, and so I took the smallest one, the cutest one, and its name was Krishna. And I went and put it under my pillow, and I'm like, okay, so good night, Krishna. And I went to sleep. And after I went to sleep, I woke up. It was like a normal day. I went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, had a shower, got up, went to the living room, went to the kitchen, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I look around and this is not my home. And where am I, right? And I realized it was another bed, another room, another home. I'm like, what's going on here? As soon as I have that thought, the whole thing starts again. I wake up, it's like Groundhog Day. I brush my teeth, I go to the living room, and then I realize again, I'm in this other space. So I go back to my room, and then I start remembering in my dream. And this was about 3 iterations later of experiencing this. And I start remembering my dream. Oh yeah, I went to sleep with the crystal skull. So I go to my room, and this experience was more real than real life. And all of a sudden, this green light is shining in the room. And so I followed the green light, and it was like laser beams. And the crystal skull, it's under my pillow, and the light was shining from the crystal skull that was under my pillow. And it was green light. And then I put the crystal skull back. I go outside, and there's green light everywhere. And it was the most profound thing. So then I have that Groundhog Day thing happen again. Go to sleep, wake up. But now I'm in my real bed, my real place where I was supposed to be. And there's a green light shining in my room. And I knew when I saw the green light, oh yeah, that's the crystal skull. And so I lift my pillow up, and sure enough, the green light is shining all over the place from Krishna. And then Krishna disappears in my hand, and I have the wake up dream again, and I really wake up. And it was just crazy because even when I really woke up, it was, I lifted my pillow, I grabbed Krishna, and it was like Krishna was glowing green, but I just couldn't see it. And it was just, and Leslie Phillips wrote about it in her book, in the back of her book, and she mentions me and Joshua in my dream because I had shared that dream with everyone, I believe, at Astral Connections the night there was a workshop again the next day, and I think I shared that experience with everybody there. And so she wrote it down in her book, but she left out the profound stuff, like the experience of the skull itself and the experience that I had with the shining light. But yeah, that was my experience with the skull.
Beautiful.
So
thank you so much. Thank you again for your help with the video today too. Now, what she didn't tell you is this particular crystal skull is an apported skull. It came through Michael Shane, who's a spiritual medium. It came out through his mouth, and he just knew it was supposed to be gifted to Katrina and I. And when I held that skull in the beginning, it did not have energies here from the physical reality. It was still connected to a spiritual reality. But by the time Shahiroz saw it, it had kind of integrated more into our physical reality. So it was a ported skull, and it was, what was it, made from fire opal, and it looked like a
opal, yeah,
monkey skull.
it was
So it didn't
beautiful.
look
It
like a
was
human skull.
very colorful. Where is it,
Yeah.
Joshua?
Right. So it's somewhere here in my room. I don't know. I don't have a big space to take all the skulls out, so I still have it here somewhere. So for my final comments, everybody said everything that's coming up, but what I want to share is Crystal Skull World Peace Meditation on the 13th of every month at the 13th hour, your local time. Contact me at crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com to find out that information. Or if you're already connected with me on Facebook, I always list it. So coming up in October on the 13th again will be the next World Peace Meditation. And you just, listen to an audio done by my friends Harry and Kathy, which is not too far from where Shahiroz is in British Columbia. And the other thing is Crystal Skull Explorers Community. We have a Facebook group that you can join if you're not already members. Again, contact me at crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com, how to become part of that. And we had 4 counselors that were here from Crystal Skulls community, Dan, Tal, Lyncara, and myself, and we will be talking about what's next. What other kind of activities can we do? But also, too, our members can make suggestions. A member could say, I would like to lead a special activity with the Crystal Skulls. So I want to encourage all of you that have been here and all of you that are watching this video. If you become a member of that and you have an idea of an activity that we can do with the Crystal Skull that's unique and unbelievable, then share it and let's see what happens. All right, so I want to thank all our moderators, our panelists for being here. We have 2 people left, Brian and Melissa. Now it is opportunity for either of you, if you wish, you can ask any one of us a question or all of us a question that based upon what you heard today or something maybe that you came in with.
And you mentioned you got to spend time with the Crystal Skull, the Mitchell Hedges skull. I got to go to Sammy's place when she was living in Kitchener.
Right.
And I was not into objects or anything like that. I went with a friend. It was amazing time, and I think it's still with me. Yeah.
So you feel like the essence of the skull is with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Yeah. And she was so nice. And our generation, we were taught not to touch things, right? Like I went to the store, I didn't touch things. Like I heard you mention, like you weren't able to touch it. No, she was encouraging me to touch it. I had it all part in my hands. I was amazing. And she was so nice. Nice.
Well, the reason why Bill Holman, after she passed, stopped allowing people to touch it is because some people were allowed to touch it when Sammy was alive and they disrespected it. So she changed her policy on it.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Brian, for your questions, and thank you for being part of this. Manrique or Melissa, do you have any questions you would like to ask any of the panelists here before we finish up today?
That's the situation. No, I was able to hear a lot of things. I have some other questions, but I will get back to you, some of you. I have the details, so I appreciate it because I'm completely new on this and what is happening to me with the skull. So I will contact you for more details. Appreciate it, really. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here, and we're glad that we were able to add more knowledge and information. Manrique is working with crystal skulls in Puerto Rico and doing things there with people. So he is already a crystal skull.
Costa Rica.
Oh, sorry. All right. Yeah, not
fine.
Okay. Yeah, see, this is what happens when we do the panel and we start going way out here. We lose ourselves. Costa Rica, of course. Okay.
No, don't worry, Señor Joshua.
Okay. Muchas gracias, mi hermano.
Con mucho gusto. Yes, it's very good, Annie.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Nice.
Okay, Brian, you have something else? Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tal mentioned that she thought the skulls was about remembering. And I really resonate with that. And I think it's such a blessing. I think that it does bring to us, I mean, we get a glimpse that we are more than this, that a lot of people don't get, which sort of helps us along in quite a way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they kind of empower us. They remind us of who we truly are. That's the way I feel. So that's a good point. Okay, anyone else has any final comments they want to make before I finish up with a final goodbye? All right, Aimee, go ahead.
So, I was saying that I was feeling that vibration in my body. I think it's really important to understand the impact of us gathering like this. Like, I'm sitting by a window right now, and there is so much activity out. I had a road runner walk right by the window. I had a hawk land on one of my pieces of outdoor furniture, and I've had 4 hummingbirds circling around the window. So they're feeling the energy. Animals are clearly very sensitive, but I think it's kind of a testament to what we have generated here today. The animals are responding. So I find that really very special and interesting.
Okay. Go ahead, Shahiroz.
I just wanted to also add that when Tal was doing the light language, I felt a vibration in my body. When Lyncara was reciting the prayer, I definitely felt a connection to what she was reciting, and I would have loved to have heard it in Sanskrit, so maybe another time. And Aimee, the skull in your background, the left eye is attracting me for some reason. I'm not sure what, but it's really, really drawing me in. Just wanted to share that with you.
I have a crystal that was charged in his left eye. It was his eyeball, so maybe you're feeling that.
Maybe.
Okay. Anybody else? Brian?
I just, what she just said, this piece of quartz was charged in the Mitchell Hedges skull's right eye.
Right.
40 some years ago. It was sitting in a box until about a year ago when everything was reactivated.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. No one else? Then I want to say to all of our panelists and moderator and Shahiroz and our guests, thank you so much for helping to co-create this first panel done by the Crystal Skull Explorers community and the council. It was a great privilege and honor to be here. I agree with Aimee. I think that we co-created some other energies on some other levels too, that we did this. And I'm sure that once Shahiroz with her magic gets the video out for everyone to see this, it's going to be very well received and a very popular video. And so, you know, and just for me to watch my vision happen, you know, it's like one day I'm talking to Lyncara and said, you know what we could do? We could do another panel. It was just an idea. And now here we have it. And it just went so beautifully. We all got along. We all had different perspectives to share. So I think it was really good. So from my heart to all of your heart, you are my family, including you, Brian, and Melissa, and Rinky. I'm adopting all of you. We're all family, and we have some amazing things that are getting ready to come up before the end of this year, and to do what we volunteered to do before we were born in spirit, our true mission, our true work. And, you know, our crystal skulls are a part of this, and they're happy to be of service. And so I'm glad that Katrina found the crystal skull that she likes to work through from spirit. So this is the one she told me that she's going to be working with. So it means I have to bring Rosalita out more. So thank you for the opportunity to share Rosalita with all of you too, or for some of you who haven't seen her before. This is her. She's usually quiet, but who knows what's going to happen with Katrina working through her now. She may become very active. So it's great. So God bless all of you, and thank you again. And we'll see what happens next. So again, thank you and blessings.